Today we're going to look at Module 3, Lesson 3, and it's the Earth, Moon, and Sun system. They begin the lesson off with the ancient beliefs about the sun. There's one story from the Cherokee Indian in Tennessee that talks about Grandmother Spider bringing the sun. It's a story of the Cherokee were in complete darkness and kept on bumping into each other, and different animals were sent to the other side of the world where the sun was to bring it back across. So it explains why different things are the way they are. The second story that they share with you is Melina, sun goddess, and her brother. And it tries to explain why the moon seems to chase the sun and why it changes from a full moon down to a crescent moon and then back to a full moon. They also share a story about the ancient belief of the season, and this one's from New Mexico, and the coyote and the eagle steal the sun and the moon, and this one is to show how different seasons came about. They share another one about Chinese culture. So as you go through, I included some videos about these different stories, so you can read them in the lesson or you can watch the video. And they're kind of interesting. The next part of the lesson is going to talk about students who went through and collected data on the moon. They spent a month looking at the moon, and they would draw it each night to see how it changed. And they came up with these different phases of the moon, and they also noticed that there were different colors to the moon. So one of the students decided to make a claim about why the moon changes shape and why the moon changes color. And the student said the moon changes shape and color during its orbit around the Earth. So what we want to decide if the student claim is true or is not. Does the moon actually change its shape, or does it appear to change shape? And does it actually change color, or it only appears to change color? A couple things as we go through the lesson we're going to need to know. We're going to need to know the difference between a revolution and a rotation. A revolution is one time in orbit all the way around the planet. So we say that the moon revolves around the Earth and the Earth revolves around the sun, and it's a month for the moon to go around the Earth, and it is a year for the Earth to go around the sun. A rotation is spinning on the axis. It's one complete spin on the axis, like this picture. And in this picture, the Earth is also rotating. A rotation of the Earth is called a day. We also need to know that light from the sun is reflected by the moon. The moon does not generate its own light. It's light rays that are reflected off the moon down to the Earth is why it appears to be lit. One section of the lesson talks about moonrise and moonset, and it's the time the first moon appears and disappears is the moonrise and the moonset. And they give you a chart, and it shows you what the moonrise and moonset compared to the sunrise and the sunset is over the course of a month. And they ask you to draw patterns. To help you make those patterns, they have an interactive. And the interactive will show time and date, and it'll show how the moon moves and how the sun moves, how the Earth moves compared, so you can watch the system working. They also get into the question of why do we only see one side of the moon. If you look at the moon traveling around the Earth, it's marked with a red dot and a green dot. The green dot's in the center, and the red dot is on the outside. As the moon orbits or revolves around the Earth, the red dot is always on the outside. So that would be the far side of the moon. And the side with this white blotch that always faces the Earth, that's the near side of the moon. And that's the side of the moon that we always see. We're going to go to do some asynchronous learning. First, you need to complete any missing assignments from unit or module 2 or 3. You need to read the content page in lesson 3. And you need to complete how can we explain moon phases and seasons, my models. There are 4 different assignments that are due this week. There's a notebook submission, there's a discussion model, and how can we explain the moon phases and seasons. The notebook will finish up with this lesson today. The discussion you finished last class. This is also due today. This is something that you're going to do in lesson 3.